Do these phrases or ideas sound familiar to you? Creativity is what separates great designers. Design is about solving problems. Clients often ruin the work. Now, they probably sound completely reasonable. The problem is, I don't think any of those statements are actually true, or at least not in the way we've been taught to believe them. In this video, I want to challenge some of the biggest lies in graphic design. Creativity is what separates great designers, right? It sounds obvious as well. Better ideas equate to better work the other end. End of story. In fact, if I asked 100 designers what their most important skill is, I'm willing to bet that creativity would be up there without a doubt. But something about this never quite made perfect sense to me. Some designers produce brilliant work every single week. Others spend half the day opening Illustrator, jumping onto Pinterest, trying a few fonts, making coffee, and coming back later, moving everything 3 pixels to the left. And then they wonder, where has the creativity disappeared to? But then I started watching experienced designers differently. Not their designs as such, but just them as a designer. They ask questions, lots of them. Who's buying this? Why aren't they buying this already? What are we actually trying to change? And then it clicked. By the time they finally started designing, they'd already removed most of the decisions. The audience was clear, the objective was clear, the hierarchy was clear. And to demonstrate this, check out these 2 designs. They use the same creative concept, right? What a cool idea, using a pop culture reference from Google and something the target audience would resonate with. But look how different the outcome is. I still think creativity matters, massively, but I don't think it's the thing that separates great designers. I think method gets you to a good design consistently. Creativity is simply the thing that helps steer the direction, often from a quality, good concept. But without a good methodology, creativity is a moot point. It's almost irrelevant, actually. The second lie is one you've probably heard more than any other. Graphic design is about solving problems. Yes, it's correct. Design does solve problems. But I think that sentence has accidentally convinced generations of designers to skip the most important part of the job. If you walk into a doctor's surgery saying, "Hey, I need some antibiotics," a good doctor doesn't immediately just write you a prescription. They start asking questions like, where does it hurt? How long has it been like this? And have you had this before? Because the medicine only works if a diagnosis is correct. And I think great designers behave in exactly the same way. I have literally lost count of the number of projects where someone asked me for a logo design, but when I took a look under the hood, what they really needed was a better brand positioning, or maybe a different audience, or just simply the confidence to stop trying to look like every competitor around them. The logo was just the thing they could directly point at. It wasn't actually the thing that was causing the problem. I think this is one reason why so many designers end up frustrated with their clients. We assume the client has already identified the problem, when in reality, they've usually identified a symptom. Sales might be down, the website might feel old, or people just simply don't trust them anymore. And those are just merely clues. The real job starts when you start asking why. In fact, I think one of the biggest differences between a designer and a strategist is only one single word. Designers ask, what should we make? Strategists ask, why are we making it? The best designers eventually learn to ask both of these questions. But once you do start doing that, the crux of all of this does reveal itself. Clients will eventually start treating you like a person who helped find the answer, the solution. And ironically, you often end up designing less at the beginning of a project, but creating much more better work at the end. And for the third industry lie, ask yourself this question. Have you ever uploaded a design online that you were genuinely proud of, only to have one person comment, "This is amazing," and the very next comment says something like, "I don't like this"? It is a strange feeling because somebody has to be wrong, don't they? And that's one of the biggest debates in graphic design. Is good design objective, or is everything just a matter of opinion, subjective? Ask enough designers and eventually someone will say, well, art is subjective. conversation over. Except, I don't think it's quite that simple. Far from it. Imagine I gave two designers exactly the same brief. One creates a website that's impossible to navigate, or nearly impossible. It's a bit clunky. Tiny text, no hierarchy, buttons hidden all over the place. The other person, the other designer, they create something people can use in seconds without thinking too much, if at all. And those two outcomes aren't equally good just because design is subjective. One simply performs the job better than the other one. And we can measure that, we can actively test it. We can watch people struggle with one and succeed with the other. But now let's change the brief. Instead of a banking app, we're designing an album cover for a death metal band. And oh yes, we're going there today, folks. Now the typography might be difficult to read in areas, the layout might feel a bit chaotic or disturbing, and it might make people feel slightly uncomfortable. And that's exactly why it works. It fits the brief for this specific design. Subjectively, you might hate it, you might dislike the style, the genre, or even think it doesn't work as a design, but it's doing its job. And I think that's where we've accidentally confused ourselves as designers sometimes along the way. We can argue whether a design is objective or subjective, when the better question is, objective towards what? Because once the objective is clear, so many design decisions stop being opinions altogether. The color, it either supports the message or it doesn't. The hierarchy either guides the eye or it doesn't. The layout either helps the audience or, yes, you guessed it, it doesn't. So no, I don't think that good design is completely objective, but I also don't think it's anywhere near as subjective as we sometimes pretend or think it is. And that misunderstanding leads to one of the biggest frustrations every designer eventually faces: clients. Static graphic designs into motion is actually easy peasy, but after 10 or 20 renders, bam. Before you know it, your credits disappear faster than your client changing their mind after an approval. And that is why Dreamina has just launched Dreamina Seedance 2.0 Mini, a new AI video model from ByteDance that's designed to deliver on-par performance with Dreamina Seedance 2.0, but with faster generation speeds and a lower cost. Essentially, the goal is to get Seedance level quality without paying Seedance level costs. But less babble, let me just show you quickly. Inside Dreamina, I'm heading into AI video, then selecting Omni Reference and choosing Dreamina Seedance 2.0 Mini. And what's useful here, in my opinion, is Omni Reference, which lets me combine image references, video references, and prompts all together instead of relying just on text prompts alone. And in this example, I'm taking a static design, adding a video reference for movement and camera behavior, and generating multiple different creative directions from this alone. And that is useful because creative work should be about exploring enough ideas to find the best one. And that's where faster, lower cost generation becomes genuinely useful. And because Dreamina Seedance 2.0 Mini is built for faster generation and high volume outputs, it's much easier to test multiple directions without sitting around waiting for renders over and over. So essentially, the big takeaway here is that Dreamina Seedance 2.0 Mini is more affordable than Seedance 2.0 and faster as well. And so if you want to try it for yourself, check out the link down below and give Dreamina Seedance 2.0 Mini a try today. And thanks to them for sponsoring this part of today's video. Now, you've probably heard people say clients have bad taste. They even go as far to say they ruin good work. I've even seen people say that they pick the worst options always, or they destroy work with changes sent from the depths of hell. In fact, you've probably experienced this yourself to some degree or length. You might have spent hours crafting a concept into a great design and you present it with confidence. But within about 30 seconds, someone says, "Can we make this bit here bigger, and can we fill up this negative space over there?" And it becomes such a common experience that many designers also accept it as part of being a designer, which is kind of crazy. And they start telling themselves things like, well, clients just like bad or rushed design. That's a story some people do tell themselves anyway. But something about the explanation never did quite satisfy me. Because if clients really were the problem, why do some designers seem to have clients who barely interfere at all? They're not hiding some secret species of perfect clients in their wardrobe or their closet. They're often working with exactly the same types of businesses as everyone else. Yet somehow, one designer spends 3 weeks arguing over a Pantone color, while someone else gets a simple email saying, "Hey, looks great, let's move forward." And I think the difference has far less to do with taste than it does trust. And hear me out. So if you've got a pain in your chest, yes, we're going back to the doctor thing, you might visit 2 different doctors. The first has just graduated last month. The second has been a heart surgeon for 30 years and is one of the best in the country. Both recommend exactly the same treatment, but be honest, whose advice are you going to question more than the other one? Most of us don't challenge expertise, we do challenge uncertainty. And I think clients behave in exactly the same way for graphic designers. The moment they stop seeing you as an expert in the room, they will naturally start filling in the gaps themselves. And that's when every color becomes a discussion and you play this weird game of email tennis that goes on forever. They're not necessarily trying to ruin your work though, that's not it. They're trying to reduce the risk of making the wrong decision, and that's why the lowest paying projects often feel the hardest. And that might seem weird, but if you look into it, you realize it's because many of them have never experienced the value of strategic design before. If design is simply a form of decoration or pure aesthetics, everyone gets an opinion, even the client's 8-year-old daughter is going to chime in. But if design is strategy, then well, expertise does matter. And ironically, the more valued you become as a designer, the less people tend to tell you how to design. You're no longer the person moving shapes around on a screen, you're now actually, evolved into the person helping making them better decisions for their business. And once that starts to happen, those conversations that you dread where they say, "Can we fill up this space?" they become a rare occurrence and might even vanish completely. But hey, don't vanish completely. If you want to continue your education journey as a graphic designer today, just click one of those videos on screen right now. And until next time guys, design your future today. Peace.